Different environments have different levels of risk depending on the hazards that are encountered. Sometimes the hazards are obvious. Sometimes the hazards aren't so obvious. Regardless of how apparent a hazard may be, you must be aware and take the proper precautions to keep you and your coworkers safe on the job. Though the warehouse may seem to be a harmless environment when compared to some other jobs, it does present potential hazards that can put you at risk. The warehouse is a fast-paced, time-critical environment where everyone is busy. If you or a coworker is lost to injury, it can have a dramatic impact on productivity. Injuries related to material handling, such as muscle sprains and strains, slips and trips, and repetitive motion injuries can occur while performing your work tasks. And since contact with objects and equipment, falls, or exposure to harmful substances and environments causes over a third of workplace fatalities, the warehouse may not be the harmless place it appears to be. With training, planning, and performing each task correctly, you can protect yourself from being harmed on the job. By making safety-conscious decisions, you can protect your safety and health. In this program, Heads Up, Warehouse Safety, we will discuss material handling techniques, working around forklifts safely, and best safety practices for the warehouse, including ladders and conveyor systems. When you think about the number of items you lift or carry in a day and how much each item weighs, it is important to know the best ways to handle materials to avoid injury. To avoid muscle-related injuries, prepare yourself for your work tasks by stretching. When you stretch, extend the muscle and hold the position for 10 seconds. Do not bounce and do not overexert the stretch. Perform each stretch 3 times. Your posture is also important in avoiding injury. Correct standing posture maintains the natural S shape of the spine and places the least amount of stress on the body. Use proper posture when performing all activities, especially when you are lifting. Bending at the waist places 10 times the pressure on the back as when using the legs to lift. When lifting an item, stand directly in front of it, not off to the side. Stagger your feet and bend at the knees. Keep your back in the natural S shape. Firmly grasp the object and lift smoothly using your legs. Keep the object's weight close to your body. Turn with your feet. Avoid twisting and bending at the waist. When carrying or lifting, keep the load below shoulder height. Avoid a long reach to pick up an object, especially if the object is heavy. You can reduce the risk of injury when handling materials by decreasing the weight of the objects to be moved, organizing your work environment so you do not have to twist or bend, taking frequent short breaks, and adjusting the pace of the task to allow adequate recovery time between activities. Use mechanical assistance whenever possible. If moving a number of items or a single heavy item, use a hand truck or pallet jack. Before using a pallet jack, inspect the jack by raising and lowering the forks. Inspect the load or pallet that you intend to move. Unbalanced loads should be restacked. Load a hand truck with the heaviest item at the bottom, closest to the wheels. Use proper lifting techniques when loading, and be sure you can see over the items to be moved. Pull the truck back slowly and balance the load on the wheels. When stacking items in the warehouse, try to keep heavier items on lower shelves. Frequently used items should be stored at waist level to avoid excessive lifting from the floor or overhead. Be aware of any stack height limits that may be printed on the item's box. Stack items only in designated areas. Do not place items in aisles, in front of electrical panels, or blocking emergency exits. Eliminate slip hazards by removing excess dirt, oil, debris, and scrap. Scrap or debris can cause cart or hand truck wheels to lock and spill a load. Since you must often share the same workspace with forklifts and other motorized vehicles, warehouses and loading docks can become very congested and hazardous areas. As a pedestrian, you need to be aware of necessary precautions to avoid an incident. Only authorized pedestrians are allowed in the warehouse and loading dock area. Use designated walkways through the warehouse. When you need to cross an aisle, be sure to look both ways before crossing, as vehicles can move rapidly through the warehouse. In many warehouses, order pickers are constantly on the move in aisles and between racks. Often pedestrians are not allowed in these high-traffic, high-volume areas. Know where you are allowed to walk and keep within the boundaries. Whenever you are in the same area as a forklift or other work vehicle, do not assume the operator knows you are present or where you intend to go. It is best to keep a safe distance at all times from work vehicles to avoid an incident. When operating a forklift, it is your responsibility to be aware of the people in your surroundings. You must be properly trained and authorized to operate a forklift anywhere at this site. Do not operate a forklift if you do not have this authorization. Some warehouses have tall house units, reached only if the forks are raised to nearly full extension. Use extreme caution when raising or lowering items, since they are close to sprinklers, lights, piping, and heating units. When picking or setting loads far overhead, be aware that heavy loads at full extension puts the forklift near the limit of its stability. Sudden movements may cause the load to spill, possibly damaging the forklift and injuring you or any bystanders. Raise and lower the forks only when the forklift is in position close to the stack. Move slowly and deliberately when forks are extended. Bring forks to ground level as soon as possible. Never travel with the forks at full extension. Follow the requirements of your site's forklift safety program when loading or unloading trailers or moving products within the warehouse. As a forklift operator, you are responsible to be aware of pedestrians in your area at all times. When working in the warehouse, you may be performing many different tasks during your workday. By following a few easy-to-remember best safety practices, you can protect your health and safety. Before you begin your job, be sure you are equipped with the proper personal protective equipment, or PPE, required for the job. PPE is any type of work accessories or clothing designed to create a barrier between you and potential workplace hazards. While your employer is responsible to provide the proper PPE, it is your responsibility to use the necessary PPE correctly for your job task. There are many different kinds of PPE that may be required, depending on the job task. A hard hat, safety glasses, hearing protection, protective aprons or jackets, gloves, and boots with foot protection. All the PPE that you wear should be comfortably snug. If the PPE is loose-fitting, it may be a potential snag hazard. Make sure you make the proper adjustments prior to performing your job. Also, check PPE to see that it is in good working condition. There should be no defects in the PPE, such as cracks or tears. If your PPE is damaged in any way, discard it and use a new piece of equipment. To reach materials above floor level, use a ladder or step stool. Before using a ladder, be sure it is in good condition. All steps are solid and are attached to side rails. All hardware is secure, and the side rails are intact. Place the ladder so that both spreaders are locked and all 4 feet are firmly on the floor. Be sure no debris or scrap are under the legs. If using a rolling ladder, be sure the ladder is locked into position before use. Use the handrails when climbing and descending. When using hand tools, be sure to choose the correct tool for the job. Carry the tool correctly, never by the cord, and inspect it before use. If using an extension cord, run the cord away from traffic areas. Avoid areas where the cord could be crushed or create a trip hazard. Conveyor systems are often found in the warehouse environment. Rollers, belts, and drive mechanisms can create a hazard to hands or feet. Be sure machine guards are in place at power transmission points such as pulleys, belts, chains, or gears. Automatic conveyor systems may stop or start without warning. Follow warning signs and caution areas. Do not enter areas where conveyors are in operation. When crossing conveyors or belts, use overhead stairs or walkways or designated areas. Do not step on rollers or belts. You could fall or be caught in the machinery. Though the warehouse presents a number of hazards, you can prevent an injury by following these best safety practices. Safety is your responsibility and something you have control over. Stretching, correct posture, and proper lifting techniques are important to avoid muscle-related injuries. Use proper stacking and loading procedures. Routinely check and maintain the cleanliness of your work area. Only authorized pedestrians are allowed in the warehouse. Keep a safe distance from work vehicles. As a forklift operator, be aware of your surroundings and any pedestrians in your area. Utilize the correct PPE to protect yourself from unnecessary exposure to harmful materials. Use correct ladder procedures and check tools before use to see they are working properly and show no signs of disrepair. Caution should be used when working near conveyor systems. Be sure machine guards are in place. Follow warning signs and be aware of caution areas. In a safety-smart work environment, even one incident is one too many. The safety-conscious decisions you make every day contribute to a safe and healthy job site for you and your coworkers. Put these practices into action to reduce the risk of illness and injury.